Yeah, sure.
Call the meeting to order. Executive Director Lean, will you call the roll, please?
Yes. Commissioner Babbage,
Here.
Karstensen,
Here.
Crosby,
Aye.
Wunderlich,
Here.
and Coles.
Aye.
Please note for the record that Commissioners Baltzell and Rehrman have excused absences today.
Commissioner Karstensen, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Are there any ceremonies, appointments, or announcements? No?
No.
Hearing none?
Sorry.
Item number 3 is a special presentation which was scheduled for Dennis Cunningham. In his absence, I believe Director Lean will discuss. But he was going to present in a short synopsis.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Babbage. Just a quick comment, because this is an agenda item. Back in 2010, we went through a process of having meetings and discussions with the owners of Idaho Veneer about putting together a new urban renewal district for that area. We ended up with the agency passing a resolution declaring that area as deteriorated or deteriorating, and also the city followed that with a similar resolution. Since then, it was basically put on hold at that time because of the economy. They didn't want to go through and try to create an urban renewal district down there basically because of the economy. We're back now, and the presentation we were going to have this morning was from Dennis Cunningham, just as an introduction to him, to the commission. And he is going to be working with Idaho Veneer on this process. The intent was to bring back a lot more detailed information to our November workshop, provide that to you for review so that we can have a more in-depth discussion, take a little more time in the November workshop than what we would normally do at a regular commission meeting today. So with that, I would just go forward with the agenda.
Can I ask you a question,
Sure.
Madam Chairman? A couple of things, Tom. The determinations made with the 2010 resolution, I question whether or not those are still valid in the passage of almost 5 years. With regard to job loss, the economy, there's been a considerable change in that. So my question is, can we proceed with that determination, realizing that the conditions in 2010 are significantly different on the basis of the economy than they are now?
That's an excellent observation, Commissioner Crosby, because we understand that, and that's why we put this on tentative agenda for our workshop in November.
Yes, sir.
To have that kind of a discussion, so we can go through that process and change as necessary based on the conditions today as opposed to 4 years ago.
Fine. Thank you. That's all I had, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner Crosby. I think that's a valid question. I had the same question with Tom yesterday, so I'm sure we'll have a lot more discussion about that at the November workshop. And hopefully, is Dennis planning on being there at the November workshop, if possible?
If they want to go forward with this, he needs to be there.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So, and just a reminder, those workshops are open to the public, so the public is invited, and those will be posted on our website. Item number 4 is conflict disclosure. Are there any conflict disclosures?
Anything having to do with the financing of the Spokane Street improvements, I declare conflict.
So noted. Thank you, Commissioner Crosby. Item number 5, consent calendar. Director Lean?
Yes. Chairman Babbage or Commissioner Babbage? Vice Chairman Babbage? Thank you.
Madam Chairman.
Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Pete.
Item A in the consent calendar this morning is the commission minutes from September 18th, 2014. Item B is the Finance Committee minutes from October 2nd. Item C is commission workshop minutes from October 8th, and all of these minutes have been reviewed and edited. Item D is payables for the month totaling $959,648.45. The payables include pay request number 3 for Cameron Riley on the City Center Revitalization Project for $539,212.40. Welch Comer at $33,000. Also pay request number 3 for R.L. Wadsworth on the Greens Ferry Overpass Project for $322,053.18, and payments to JUB Engineering for $37,273.64. We, in the consent calendar, we like to itemize those amounts because of the large dollar amount, and those dollars will be appearing each month in varying amounts. We'll be transferring funds from the agency's general fund to the city center district to pay the October construction and engineering draw requests. After the November closing on that city center loan, those funds will be included in the first bank draw and replaced back to the general fund. And we've discussed this recently. Item E is the bank activity report, which shows total funds in all accounts of $6,756,967.80 and accrued interest for the month of $1,168.20. Item F is the financial reports as of September 30, 2014, that are printed from our in-house QuickBooks program, and those will be posted to our website. Your approval of the consent calendar will authorize the transfer of $1,168.20 accrued interest to the general fund, and also the transfer to the INB checking account of $959,648.45 for general payables. In those transfers, I would make a note that we have concluded arrangements with the LGIP in Boise to change our ACH transfer arrangements from the Boise local government investment pool to our INB account, so that those transfers will go directly to the checking account, so we don't have to go to the money market account and then transfer to the checking account. So that has been accomplished. It'll be a little cleaner operation. So the funds, these large amounts of funds, will be in the bank for a shorter period of time in the transfer process. Vice Chairman Babich, I would answer any questions.
No, thank you. But thank you for making that change in the ACH transfers. I think it will be a lot more clean, transparent.
Yeah.
Are there any questions regarding the consent calendar for Director Leon?
Yes, Chairman, I had two. On the September 18th minutes, I believe I declared a conflict with regard to the Spokane Street, and I'd like that noted in the minutes if possible. And then on page 5, I just asked that the spelling of city's role be changed from ROLL to ROLE.
It's not how the city rolls.
Duly noted. Thank you.
And then my second question has to do with one of the payables, Rotary dues and meals. Can someone help me with that, the public purpose of that? $825 per year.
Sorry, could you,
Rotary
where,
dues and meals.
Where is that
It's
showing?
one of the payables, and I believe it's a
on the payables?
quarterly amount.
I thought I saw it at like 200.
Yeah, I believe it is. It's a quarterly amount.
Oh,
That's quarterly, we're billed quarterly for the lunch, our weekly lunch meetings.
Mhm.
And also, the quarterly billing includes the weekly lunches for that quarter and also the quarterly dues. And that's $206 for this quarter.
Do we have other memberships of this type?
No, this is the only paid membership that we have. We tried to restrict that.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any questions, any other questions for Director Leon? Hearing none, I would call for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move to approve the consent calendar as amended. or as-
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Coles to approve the consent calendar as amended, and seconded by Commissioner Carstensen. Roll call vote?
Yes. Commissioner Wunderlich,
Aye.
Crosby,
Aye.
Carstensen,
Aye.
Babbage,
Aye.
and Coles.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 6, committee updates. Finance and Policy Committee, Commissioner Carstensen.
I don't have anything new since last week. We still have our next financial committee meeting is planned for the first week in November. And I can't remember the exact date, 5th, I think, yeah,
8 a.m.
at 8 a.m. Very good. I'm sure we'll have something new after that.
Thank you, Commissioner. District review, that's all on me. I've been trying to make a date to get over to see Diane to get our plan set out for what the next reviews are. Considering Commissioner Crosby's request to review Expo, that's high on the list, so we'll have an update at the next meeting. Communications, Property, and Personnel, Commissioner Coles.
I don't have anything new.
Thank you. Moving on to citizen comments. Are there any citizen comments? Anybody signed in for citizen comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 8, unfinished business, Greens Ferry Overpass, September expense. Director Leon.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chairman Babbage. Our current month expenses on the Greens Ferry Overpass project are $362,707.82. Total expenses to date on that project are $1,902,800.87. Regarding schedule, JUB continues with their project administration and the accounting, management, and project tracking activities. They're coordinating a lot of activities with project team meetings and action items. We will be having we had our second CRB meeting on September 16th. We are we have scheduled a groundbreaking for the overpass on October 21st. I have additional comment on that. Right-of-way appraisal reviews are continuing. Utility coordination is working out really well. We have one issue with one utility that is we're dealing with. The design oversight reviews and comments are continuing. We're at various stages, various phases on the construction, on the design. We're at 30%, 60%, or 90% on the different phases. Those phases, as the information is provided from the engineers, Lochner Engineering, those phases are reviewed by a team, and they make comments, and those comments go back to the engineer for changes in the design or approval from the various entities that are involved. And that would include ITD. That is about what I have on Greens Ferry for now.
Are there any questions, Commissioners? Commissioner Crosby?
Yes, Chairman, I had, first of all, excellent job on the spreadsheets. Thank you. That's very helpful. And I also appreciate the notes from Commissioner Carstensen on the project team meetings. That makes me feel like I'm up to snuff on those. Will we be getting the change order breakdown that we requested at the workshop? I think that was the plan to get that, I believe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Those lists of change orders have been completed. And as I mentioned, I've got in my staff report, I've got some other information here, which would include that, a comment on the change orders.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Director Leanne? Yep. All right. Hearing none, well, we have 2 8s on the agenda there, but we'll make it 8.1. New business, any new business? I'm sorry. It's the details.
Thank you for pointing that out. I missed that.
No new business. So
New
noted.
business.
Item number 9, staff report and updates.
Thank you. I have a number of things here on staff report. Number 1 is change orders on Greens Ferry Overpass. I do have a list, and I can provide a copy of this to all the commissioners. We have at this time 3 change orders. Numbers 2 and 3 are fine. But my comment from JUB is that they held off on forwarding these to me until change order number 1 questions were resolved. Out of the 3 change orders, they have addressed pricing and everything that we need other than the number 1, and they're still working through some comments. They go back, you know, we have a change order in process. The engineer goes back to the contractor, and they're working on the pricing on that. So once we get that number 1, they will send all 3, 1, 2, and 3 to us, and I will provide that information back to all the commissioners.
Question, is change order number 1 the itemized deduction items that we went through and identified?
No, sir. Commissioner Crosby, the change order number 1 is the north of Mullen connection,
Oh, I see. Okay.
where we had extended the curb gutter sidewalk for 100 and some feet. That's an addition. The project team agreed to move forward with that, and that's been reviewed, previously discussed by commission. Just a real quick rundown. Number 2 is a signal conduit under the Polston intersection. They want to run additional six additional 2-inch plastic conduits for a future anticipated signal at that intersection. So as long as they're doing the work in the intersection now, they would do the conduit. Sometime in the future, they anticipate having the need for signalization on that intersection. So doing that work now makes sense, and it would be just running some conduit there is very minimal from a cost standpoint. Change order number 3 would be we call it the police cameras. We've been requested by the city police to put in, again, this is just running conduit on the top of the overpass. When they do the construction, we're running conduit along the top and down the ramp to the north down to Polston. It'll terminate there so that in the future, the police department will pay for running the wires, the cable, and purchasing and installing the cameras so that they can connect those cameras about a block to the west to City Hall. So they have camera visibility on traffic on that overpass for safety and monitoring. So all we're paying for in that change order is installation of the conduit, which makes sense when you do the construction on the overpass.
And these are all items that come up in the course of a design-build contract, which are, issues that people start to focus in on as you start to get the design done. That's a clarification for the
Yes,
folks
sir.
at home, so that they don't think that we're just sort of having a set of plans and then we're saying, hanging Christmas tree ornaments all over it. These are issues that come up, and I think most of them are public safety issues. So
Yes, sir.
I certainly agree with that.
On Spokane Street, change orders. I have 6 listed on this sheet. I got 2 more yesterday afternoon, so we have a total of 8. The work change directive number 1 and number 2 we have discussed. Number 1 was the reduction for about $128,000 in the total cost. That's all been approved. The change order has been approved. Number 2 is install receptacles at trees, replace standard concrete with colored stamped concrete to match. Credit for receptacles not installed. That was reviewed and approved also. That's the $5,600 change order. The Work Exchange Directive 3, 4, 5, and 6 are fairly minimal in cost. Extending spray head irrigation in one area, eliminating elbows and paint at the islands, replacing a damaged flagpole at the Post Falls Family Dental. That was, we think, impacted by one of the pieces of equipment out there. Contractor staff says, no, we didn't do that, we didn't do that. The landscaping people, when they were mowing the lawn over there, they did it. And we looked at the equipment used by the landscaping people. It's not heavy enough and large enough to have done that damage on the flagpole. It's only a $300, $325 item for public relations. We elected to go ahead and get that taken care of. You know, we can spend $300 easily going back and forth discussing this item. On the, but there's also irrigation, point of connection, and system modifications in that work change directive. Work change directive number 5 was Centennial Trail Pocket Park. We reviewed and discussed that, and the commission approved going forward with that. We don't have the change order yet on that. Work change directive number 6 was the additional work on the sidewalks on 1st and 2nd. We've discussed that. Commission has approved that, but we don't have the change order yet. That's also in process. Numbers 7 and 8, I'm trying to recall what those
Dry well.
are. One was a dry well. That's a single item for about, we discussed and said, let's go ahead with that as long as it's not over 5,000. I think it's less than 4,000 is the indication I had. I'm sorry, like I said, we just received this yesterday afternoon. I don't have the last one in my head right now, but it's very minimal. It's well less than 5,000. Mr. Gillis is here from Welch Comer if you'd like
Hi,
any
Matt.
more information,
Come on up.
or if you have additional questions on these, on the change orders or process. If he could introduce himself.
Matt Gillis, 350 East Kathleen. Good morning. The last one, the last work change directive / change order is a small inlet or a catch basin that we need to add. We hoped we could avoid it in the design process, but the intersection of Spokane Street and Railroad Avenue is extremely flat, and we need to put it in, or we'll have to live with a big puddle in the street. And so it's one of those things that came up. We hope to avoid it, but the existing grades just don't quite allow it.
Any other questions for Matt, why we have him up here?
Do you have an approximate price on that?
No, not yet. I've asked for one. I know what I think it should cost, and we'll see what the contractor says, and then we'll negotiate from there.
Any other questions for Matt? Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
If I could, I'm trying to get it straight in my head regarding the Pocket Park. Was that decided as a 50-50 split?
No, sir.
No?
The city council agreed to
Up front it?
advance the funds, and then we would pay them back as we had excess increment going forward, yes?
Okay.
Commissioner Carstensen makes a good point. That comment was made in the discussion, but we didn't take action to that effect. The action taken was that we would eventually pay, by the end of the day, we would pay for the whole project. The add alternate bid amount was $103,000 because we didn't have, another comment I would make, we do not have a contingency built into the contract for city center project, nor do we have contingency on that pocket park. So the agency staff, we're looking at that as, the cost of this pocket park is limited to $103,000, barring any unforeseen really large aberration. Even though the city at our joint meeting said, well, what if you have a contingency? What if you have this, or what if you have this? Let's not exceed 120. And that's fine, but I'm still working towards that initial 103,000. That's my goal.
Just to comment on that, but the 103 did not include the kiosk, correct?
That's correct.
And that, as far as I remember, the city council felt that was important to just
Yes.
get it done at the time of construction. So that was estimated to add.
About 3,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think there was some engineering and some oversight during construction, and, you know, it's just,
You'd add another $33 for the engineering.
okay. We're doubling their pay rate.
They wanted to, Dave Fair, Parks and Rec Director for the city, would like to have the kiosk at the Pocket Park the same as the one that we installed over on the Centennial Trail parking lot when we did that project a couple of years ago. That would be about $1,000 for each side, just an estimate. So for a three-sided kiosk over here, they're thinking about $3,000. So that would take our 103,000 up to 106.
So as I understand it, the city approved up to 120,000,
Yes,
and we approved to move forward with
yes.
Pocket Park at alternate.
And the city attorney and our attorney, Mr. Bredesen, are working out the details on a memorandum of understanding or agreement on how that payment and subsequent reimbursement will be put into play. Did you need to comment on that?
Just briefly, I drafted a proposed agreement and sent it to the city attorney. He got back to me, I think it was yesterday. He has some issues that he needs to discuss with the council, so he said that he was going to talk to the council and then get back to me. So it's a work in process.
And I'm assuming Shelley's been kept in the loop on.
Yeah, she was CC'd in the email I got yesterday, so.
Anything to add, Shelley? No. Okay. I won't put you on the spot again. Thank you for that. Other items in your?
Yes. We have a, as I mentioned in the process on the Greens Ferry Overpass project, one of the utility companies is Frontier Communications, and they have said that they've made a decision recently that until all of the right-of-way is acquired and the deeds are processed and everything is done, they are going to stop their work until that happens, so that they can be assured that they have access to the property and they can do all the work. That may result, the project manager for JUB has done the math, done the analysis. That could cost us, on a 3-month delay, upwards of $500,000, $600,000 in project costs because of the delay to the general contractor. If the delay extends out to a couple of years, our cost could be $6 to $7 million. So one of the things that we have in process is a letter that has been drafted, and I sent a copy of this, included a copy of this letter in your information packet. This letter would go to Frontier Communications. It will, and it's a communication to Frontier that says, we need to get this project moving. We can't afford for Frontier Communications to put us on hold for 2 months or 3 months because of the impending cost to the agency, the project, and the community. This is taxpayer money we're using, and if this project gets put on hold because of their stance, then we're incurring additional costs unnecessarily. So this is a request to Frontier Communications to go forward as originally planned. The intent on this draft letter is to have Chairman Baltzell sign it on behalf of the agency, have Mayor Jacobson sign it on behalf of the city, and have Jim Coleman, Vice Chairman of ITD District 1, have him sign this letter also. So it's a message to Frontier Communications that we have a lot of interested people on their not postponing their efforts on this project. This doesn't require a motion for action, but I would like to have at least your knowledge that this is what we're doing as part of the project from a communication standpoint, and the fact that Chairman Baltzell will be signing this letter, I hope. That's our request to Commission and to him.
Just
There's no...
question, just so I understand Frontier's position. They're talking only about the acquisition of the right-of-way, the additional right-of-way that they need to relocate their existing lines, yes?
That is correct.
And is that something that we would be paying for, I believe? Because as I understand it, the utilities will relocate at their cost within their own right-of-way, but if they have to move it to private property or an additional right-of-way, we have to pay the moving costs and we have to pay the acquisition cost of the right-of-way, yes?
That
or
is
no?
accurate, yes.
Okay.
As an example, they have some main lines out in the freeway, within the boundary of the freeway.
Sure.
That need to be moved so that we can build the columns, put the columns in, the support structures. That does not require acquisition of any right-of-way. So, our question is why stop work totally when you could go out there and do the work within the freeway right-of-way? Over on the north side, the two auto dealerships, some of that infrastructure will be moved onto new right-of-way, which we acquire from those dealerships. There's not going to be a problem in acquiring that other than the time.
Sure.
But we could do the construction in the median, and by the time they get that done, we will have acquired the right-of-way over in the dealerships, and they can move forward with relocating the utility over in those areas because we will have acquired the right-of-way by then. And then there's two pieces of property on the south side that we need to acquire for the project. They will also put some of their utility infrastructure on those two properties. That will take a little longer to close on those two properties, but in any event, that closure on the acquisition will be completed by early spring, first of the year, which will be done by the time they're ready to go over there and do the construction.
And I would assume that we're far enough along in the process to know, to even provide them with almost a meets and bounds description of the additional right-of-way that we're seeking to acquire at this time, so that they could essentially design to that specification.
Yes, sir, that is true.
I think it's very appropriate to send a letter.
Just a couple clarifications. I believe Commissioner Crosby asked, not only are we responsible for purchasing the right-of-way, but the cost to relocate. Was that your question?
Yeah, that was.
And it's my understanding that the right-of-way, yes, the cost to relocate is on Frontier, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So,
Okay,
so
thank
we're-
you for that
yeah.
clarification.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then I would just ask, like I sent you in the email, that Mr. Long and Mr. Mern be CC'd on that letter, just to make sure that
I made
they're
that
in
change
the-
this morning.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could be, I don't know what the conversation was, but I know they have a lot of projects in this year, and they're butting up to the end of their fiscal year. So it could be that they don't have the capital account to pay for the moves, but I don't know. I'm just speculating.
No, I appreciate that comment in your email yesterday. It's a valid point. It's a consideration, and that may be part of the equation that they're dealing with.
Right. As long as we're just having two-way dialogue with them, and I don't see anything wrong with the letter as it's written, just,
Yeah, they've certainly proven themselves to be good corporate citizens since they've come to this area.
right. Any other discussion on that? No?
One of the, next on my list, I'm sorry. I just wanted to comment on the groundbreaking. That will be at 9:30 Tuesday, the 21st, for the overpass. That'll be on the north side of Interstate 90 near Knutson Chevrolet. That's just for public notice, basically. We have posted this on our website, the city's website. We've sent out email invitations.
Article in the press this morning.
It was a nice article from Brian Walker in the press this morning. I included in your packet this morning the copy of some of the information on the application for payment number 3 for Greens Ferry. I did that because Joe Sonnen, the engineer with JUB, is going to be providing this each month now with their pay applications, because on the first part of this, it shows just a status on what activities that they have done over the last 30 days on the roadway plans, drainage plans, structure plans, and what percentage of completion we've done on that. There was a question earlier about contingency and contingency amounts. We do not have any contingencies, like I mentioned, in the city center contract, nor do we have any contingency in the Greens Ferry Overpass project on the contract that was accepted. I do have available, if you would like it, I can email this or make hard copy available. We have the base bid sheet that includes all of the costs on Greens Ferry, but if you recall, if you look back on the payables, where we attached to the payables a listing for the expenses for the current month expenses for both Greens Ferry and City Center. On those listings, it includes the total original contract amounts, a line item disclosure, if you will, on the costs on both of those projects. And it does not show on those any contingency amounts. So any contingency requirements, we're going to have to deal with on an individual change order basis. I would answer any other questions.
Just to address the contingency issue, I certainly understand that, and I would not have expected to find a contingency in the bid, but I think perhaps we use this as a learning experience in moving forward with other construction projects, although not including in our request from the contractor to have him include a contingency, since having him put a contingency in, it sort of makes it less of a contingency, let's put it that way. But I think the agency should address the contingency issue and in the back of our minds say, we should assume that we have a bid of X and we have engineering fees of Y, and then we have a contingency of 10 or 15% that we're not, it doesn't show up anywhere except in our own internal documentation in terms of how we decide to finance it, how we look at the cost in conjunction with our increment return and that sort of thing. Just sort of of something that we've all agreed that we have available to meet the unforeseen issues that you're dealing with on a daily basis.
I think we should have that discussion going into these kinds of projects where if you have a project of $1 million,
sure,
internally in our discussions and plans, there's no way we're going to exceed that by more than 10% for unforeseen contingencies and change orders. But I totally agree with that.
Thank you for that.
thank you.
Any other discussion on Director Lean's staff report? That was the end, correct?
That is the end.
Item number 10, commissioner comments. Are there any commissioner comments?
For me.
Hearing none, chairman comments. Well, a couple things. First of all, Pete, just a quick question on the records retention policy draft. I don't remember seeing that in my email. Did you send that out?
I sent it to Diane and because I wanted her to compare what I sent her to what she had on file. And then after that, I was going to have her send that to everybody. So
that's forthcoming. Thank you.
It's in process.
It just popped into my head. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Other comments, wishing Jerry safe travels, Paula speedy recovery. Hope to have them both back at the workshop in November, hopefully. Thank you to city staff, Kit and her crew, for being here so bright and early and awake in the morning. And Shelley for attending the meeting. Thank you very much. Our guests, Matt and Chief Merritt. Tom, Diane, and Pete, thank you so much for sharing all the information that you share. I know it's a lot of work to get us all this information, but I think it helps us be prepared for these meetings and these discussions. And thank you for digging up the information on the Idaho veneer potential URD from 4 or 5 years ago. That was very helpful for us. Just a reminder that the groundbreaking is Tuesday the 21st at 9:30. And which side of the freeway is that on?
It'll be on the north side of the freeway,
On the north
basically at the small cul-de-sac in front of Knudsen Chevrolet.
Between the RV park and the
Yes.
auto dealership. So anybody that can attend that, I know Commissioner Crosby's traveling, I will not be available, but anybody else that can attend that from the public or from the URA, that would be great. I don't have any other questions. I would call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Set a record.